And could you applaud if anybody in this audience watched Lonesome Dove? Everything that could happen in that 30 minutes, it happened. You know, there were snowstorms and ice storms, and there was, I think even hurricanes, tornadoes. I mean, everything was going wrong. And the next thing you know, that body was jumping off that sled, and Woodrow was getting off his horse, and he was picking up that body, putting it back on the sled. Well, I was getting crazy. I was like, why don't you just bury him? Why don't you just bury him? And I'm crying and screaming at the TV. And my husband says to me, well, now he can't. I said, why? Because he gave his word. Now, I don't know if you've seen a more modern version of this. It went AP a few years ago, and this man was on his deathbed, and he said to his wife, when I die, I want you to promise me that you'll bury me with all my money. And she said she would. And then he died, and she wrote him a check.
Linda Cirulli-Burton's eclectic background in business, education, and the arts has prepared her well to address diverse audiences. Since 1987, she's worked as public relations specialist, teacher, and motivator for a health and fitness center ranked globally in the top percentile for sales, management, and community service. In 1993, Linda formed her speaking business. Since then, she has delighted, motivated, inspired, and educated hundreds of audiences across the country with an energy level so high it draws everyone to her. Often, Linda talks about things you and I have heard dozens of times before, but she has the knack for doing it in a captivating and memorable way.
If you want to build rapport and cut down the distance between you and this other human being, you go to where they are, and you too talk quietly and move it from there. If you are talking, if somebody talks very, very slowly, and you are a very, very fast talker, what you do is you slow yourself down to talk at the same rate at which they feel comfortable. Now, I need to tell you this right now. This is not easy. Sometimes when I, being that I am a fairly fast talker, I don't know. Remember, I've mentioned to you that I've had a miserable dating history, and among the miserable experiences occurred when I was 27 years of age, and I was going out with this, he was really a wonderful guy named Scott, but he spoke so slowly. And the interesting thing is everyone in his family spoke so slowly. The impact on me was exactly as you would expect. Not knowing anything about rapport, I would talk faster in that house. I was like, I mean, I was like out of control in that house. That's the impact it had on me. The killer moment came when his mother, Dolly, said, "Dear, may I speak with you for a moment?" "Oh, yes, Mrs. Reese, you can, of course." "Dear, have you ever had your thyroid checked?" So what are affirmations? Affirmations are direct, one-sentence statements of a quality, characteristic, habit, or goal we wish to achieve. They certainly, for the most part, are not true, but the important thing is they have to become true. I recognized, of course, that I had a very debilitating characteristic, a very debilitating quality, And that was this. I mean, it was so simple. If you criticized me, I absolutely died and agreed with you 100%. And this was going to be a killer for me if I was going to decide that I wanted to be a speaker. So I created the very first affirmation of my life, and this would have been back in 1993. And that affirmation was this. I couldn't use the word absolutely criticism. I couldn't use it. I went, I am gratefully open to suggestions and advice. I am gratefully open to suggestions and advice. And I did what the books told me to do. I would like lie in bed when I was half awake, half asleep, going, I am gratefully open to suggestions and advice. And I am still standing.
Linda's programs are highly customized to respond to the special needs of each audience.
And what I've come to realize, people, is that you and I, our minds have magnifying glasses, okay? And we make a decision every single day where we're going to put that magnifying glass. We're either going to stick it on top of good news, good traits, good events, good circumstances, or we're going to plop it right on top of negative traits, negative characteristics, negative news, negative situations, negative events. They had hired her into food services, and this was an exceedingly difficult woman. But that food service manager put her magnifying glass right on top of that woman's application that said 30 years of Kodak, 30 years. There has got to be something very wonderful about this woman, 30 years. And she kept it on top of that. And that woman, after a period of time, turned out to be her very best worker. How many people in here read the book by Dr. Susan Jeffers called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway? If I make that phone call and they're abrupt or cold to me, I will feel rejected and I can't handle it. Okay. If I go and show this plan and not a single person is interested, I'm going to feel like a failure and I can't handle feeling like a failure. If I stand in front of those people and I fall flat on my face, I'm going to die of embarrassment and I can't handle being embarrassed. But this is the point that this woman makes that I want to make to you over and over again. There is absolutely nothing that has occurred in your life up to this moment in time that you have not handled. You, everyone in this audience has their stories, their ups and downs, their tragedies, their dramas, but the fact remains that whatever has happened to you, you have handled it.
Hundreds of clients from business, education, healthcare, and community service have learned that Linda has a priceless sense of humor and captivates every audience regardless of size or industry.
I was standing in line at a mini mart, you know, a post office inside of a mini mart, and there was about 15 of us standing in line. And I had, you know, all my paraphernalia, and I get up there, and the postman takes my packages and he weighs them. And I'm standing there, and I said to him, "Are you putting the stamps on for me?" "No way, lady!" And I went, I was horrified. I was horrified because all those people behind me heard the postman yell at me. So I stood over to the side and I took my stamps and I put them on. The next day I'm back in line, right? And I'm looking at this postman. And I said to myself, in my mind, you know something? You really are a nice guy. But yesterday, you were having a bad day. In fact, you could have been having a bad week. And for all I know, your life might be pretty miserable. But you are really a nice guy. So what happened is I get up there, he takes my packages, he weighs them, I stand there and say, are you going to be giving me the stamps so I can put them on? No, I'm putting them on for you. I went, thank you. And I turned around and I left. Now this guy and I, we're like best friends.
Here is a partial listing of clients who have enjoyed her keynotes, seminars, and workshops for their high energy, beneficial content, humor, and painstaking customization. Thank you for joining us.